I think we all want to experience those deep, genuine, authentic connections in our lives with other people. But the way that we are being taught to communicate with each other is very ineffective for creating such connections. And by that, I don't mean that in school you literally get taught the opposite of what you're supposed to do. In fact, in school you don't even get taught anything about the topic of connecting with other people, which is crazy because it's such an essential part of life. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to start having these conversations with you. So, if you think back to a moment where you did experience such a deep connection with a friend or a lover or a family member, just a moment where you really felt it, where you really felt connected to that person. How did you become aware that was going on? What about your experience made you realize that there was a deep connection going on? If you're anything like most people, you felt it somewhere in your body, most likely in your heart, maybe somewhere else, maybe your entire body. Maybe there was like this rush of joy when you were looking at each other. Um, it could really depend on the person. But one thing's for certain, and that's that you experience that connection as a feeling and not as a thought. And all feelings are experienced through your body. Now, the society that we grew up in is super head focused, brain focused. We constantly take in information, we're constantly thinking, we're philosophizing, strategizing, and it's the same for me. Um, it just, there's not necessarily something wrong with that, it's just the case. And as a natural consequence of that, when we are trying to have conversations with other people, to get to know them, to connect, we're gonna do that from the only place that we've known to do it, and that's through our brains. So, typical conversational topics that people will have when trying to make small talk with people, when trying to meet new people, would be, well, let's say on the most surface layer of small talk, it would be external events that have nothing to do with both of you, but you're kind of just sharing them to to see if they're into the same stuff. I guess like you would be talking about sports, about football teams, politics, something gossip, maybe celebrities, something that you read on the news, just a bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with the two of you, but you may be able to find some friends through that. Like if you both follow the same celebrities, if you are fans of the same sports team, you you can connect on that a bit. But it's generally a connection that comes through information through your brain, so it won't feel like that deep connection. So making that kind of small talk in that way will never really like instantly get people to feel like, oh, this person really gets me, and you won't feel it from them either. Now another way where people go a little bit deeper, and that's where generally people said we had a very deep conversation, is when you start talking about your worldviews, your life philosophy, your concepts, and that doesn't need to be a formal setting like, well, now I'm about to share my life philosophy. It can seep in through conversations. You're talking about events that happened, and you're sharing your opinion about it, and through that they get a little glimpse in, oh, this person's like that. He looks at things like that, and this is a level that goes a little bit deeper, and most people find it very pleasant. I do as well. Like it's a moment where you can feel like you met somebody like-minded. I think that's the word that you would say. We had a deep conversation all night and discover we're very like-minded people. The thing is that when two people have this really intimate connecting conversation, we're speaking about a heart-to-heart conversation. We've never said, oh, we had a serious mind-to-mind conversation, because that's already happening all the time. So even when you are connecting by having similar worldviews, you're still not really getting that like emotional surge that you experienced in those moments of deep connection. Another way that people tend to build up a slightly deeper connection, which is still through the mind, is by sharing stories about yourself with each other. This kind of naturally also happens when people grow up because they literally see those stories happen. But if you meet somebody new and you're trying to connect with them, basically a way to show yourself, to show who you are, or to get to know them is by either telling stories about everything that happened in your life so far, the moments that really made you who you are right now in this moment, or asking them about such moments, asking them about the moments that define them, or just trying to get a sense of what kind of person they are. But the catch is that because it happens through stories, it's again filtered through the mind, it doesn't actually show you what kind of person you are talking to. In fact, what you're sharing with each other is who you think you are. The stories that you believe made you who you are, the interpretations that you gave through it. But again, it all happens here. Nothing is happening here. There's no like big upwelling of joy. There's no opening of a heart that gets you to connect with each other. Then the question is, okay, if we always talk about these things, then how did these deep connections actually occur in our lives? Well, for one of them, there's just the fact that if you grow up with somebody for 20 years and you pass all these different moments, you're gonna have moments where that emotion comes through and you get to connect and you get to feel it with each other. And that's very powerful, that stays. And then there are these instances where you met somebody and you instantly felt a connection. Or you felt a connection from the first night and you became best friend. Now, what defines these moments is that there typically was an emotion present which was so strong that it managed to cross all the way from the body through the brain and like bypass this whole thing that was going on. It was like, this is so big, you have to pay attention to it. Get out of your head, feel this. So that could be, for example, when a man and a woman meet and there's like really this spark of attraction or love, then obviously that is so much bigger than whatever is going on in your head that you're going to feel it. Another example would be with friends where you just have these moments where you experience a really strong emotion together. So this could be going through loss or heartbreak. This could also happen by sharing a really cool adventure together, like a drunk night where a lot of crazy stuff happens that is only shared between the two of you. Or you could go on this beautiful trip together where every moment is just emotionally charged and you share it. But you cannot count on having these moments just randomly occur with new people that you met. So if you want to experience these type of connections with other people faster, then the best place to start is by changing the way you speak, by no longer constantly speaking coming from your head, but also speaking from your body. Now, it sounds a bit weird. I mean, you're always speaking from your body, your mouth is part of your body, I get it. But I think by now you understand that everything which we tend to share in conversations comes from the mind. Even when we are speaking about our feelings, we generally tend to speak quite factual. We will say, oh, this happened yesterday and I got really pissed. I felt pissed. That's it. Or it made me feel sad. But I think when you're listening to me speak right now, like there's no emotion there. Well, part of that is because it didn't happen. I just made it up. But even if it did, like I'm saying it very factually. There are three main ways which I want to share with you that can really make an impact in this regard. And the first is just to really focus on what is going on inside you right at this moment. So instead of speaking about something that happened in your life the day before or about something that happened in someone else's life that you saw on television, or something that didn't even happen because it was a scripted TV show. Just feel into your body and become aware what you're feeling in that moment and share it with the person. So that could be, if you are walking up to a stranger, right? You're speaking for the first time. I bet you're gonna feel like a little bit of nervousness, and that could be the first thing to share, like saying, "Oh, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit excited about this, but I just wanted to meet you." Um, if you're in a group, you could be the first person to share like what kind of feeling is going on in the room that you're aware of. Is there tension? Is there just this like really joyful, playful atmosphere and you're enjoying that in your body? Are you maybe feeling a little bit of insecurity because there are some very talkative people in the group and you are not? Like all those things, you can share them, but the point is that you feel into your body and you really experience that feeling while you share it so that it comes out. So what that would look like for me right now is I'm feeling like a little bit uncomfortable actually. Um, I really want to start sharing these type of things with you. I really long to help create more and deeper connections in the world, help create more satisfying relationships between people, because I feel like there's so much love that can be spread into the world. But at the same time, um, I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself for doing things right, and being aware that I'm speaking to a camera. This is something that I've only done a few times before, and when I did it, man, it sucked. So there's like some like a hot feeling in my body. You know, when you feel like, oh, I'm not sure if I should be doing this. That's kind of what I'm experiencing, and I'm pushing through it because I just would love to share this with you. It's making me feel uncomfortable, but it's also bringing me joy because there's this aspect of this feeling in my heart, like, ah, I'm doing this. You know, I'm sharing it. I wanted to share it. It feels uncomfortable doing it anyway. It's an interesting mix of feelings, man. But I'm happy to be here with you. When you share things that way, it always feels a little bit out of your comfort zone at first because you're sharing some deeper truth. It's like it's not a thought that you contrived somewhere or picked up. It's the actual truth of what you're experiencing right now. So even like now, um, I get this idea in my head like, oh, maybe I should stop the camera and try to re-record what I just said and do it a little bit better. Maybe there wasn't enough emotion in there. You'll always feel vulnerable. I think that's the word. You'll feel vulnerable because if somebody dislikes what you're saying in that moment, and they give a comment that you experience as rejection, it's not a rejection of your thought. It's not a rejection of this external message that you put out there. It's a rejection of what you are going through. And I think like it's a rejection of your experience. I think that's better to say. It's like invalidating it. So for that reason, a lot of us don't really want to go there. But I promise you, if you share from this place where you're really checking in, what am I experiencing right now in my body? What kind of feelings do I feel? And you put them out there, other people will start to open up as well. Those emotions are contagious. People will feel closer to you. If anybody has experienced something similar or is experienced something similar, they will definitely connect with you. The second thing that you can do is to actually go back to all these examples of like brainy communication that I said, and to infuse passion and emotion in them. So when you're telling this story about your life, really think back, well, not think back, remember what that felt like for you, and call up those emotions and try to infuse them in the story, not necessarily with words, but try to feel them, try to feel how the story affects you as you speak, and that emotional state that you are going through, being more experiencing your body, being more in your body, other people will take that on as well. If you're speaking about music that you like, about TV show that you like, get into the feeling of how that made you feel. If it is a great comedy, try to get in touch with that joy, that laughter that you experienced. If it's like a horror movie, if you're into that, try to get into that state of fear when you're talking about it. Again, like I promise you, you will connect with people way more deeply. If this other person is into horror movies, they want to feel that fear and they sense that you are scared when you watch them, they're gonna want to watch this movie and they're gonna thank you for recommending that. It's way different from saying, hey, you should watch this movie. If you are speaking about the news, like maybe you saw this segment about something war related, something where people were suffering, maybe something related to abuse of power. How did it make you feel to watch that? Like oftentimes we're not even aware of that while we are consuming this information. But when you share it with other people, you really have a chance to check in with yourself and say, why does this affect me? Why do I want to talk about this? What emotions do I feel related to this topic? And if you start sharing that, again, you'll be building a deeper connection faster. And the final thing, which may be the most important one, is to listen to other people in this way. So when they are speaking to you, coming from any place, whether it's brainy or body, it really doesn't matter. Ask them guided questions that give them the opportunity to experience their own emotions in their body and share them with you. So when they are sharing their stories, when they are talking about anything, you can ask them, what's that like for you? Like, what are your feelings about this topic? How does knowing that this is going on in the world make you feel? Just try to really listen to them and to dig deeper into their experience and get them to share it with you. And this gets them to open up to themselves on this more emotional level, but it also gets them to share that experience with you, and in turn you can relate to things that you feel. You can even go back and forth and say like, wow, when you say that, I feel this in reaction. Or you could ask them how they feel about this thing that you just said. You can learn to notice maybe like subtle shifts in their body language that signal that they may be experiencing an emotion which they are not aware of, and kind of call them out on that. Say like, oh, I notice you're like changing your posture right after when I said this. Did it make you feel anything? Just really seek for opportunities whenever you're in conversation with a new person to direct both of your awareness away from theory, away from information, and into the body. And those moments will lead to a connection deeper and faster than the kind of traditional small talk we're used to having with each other. Thank you for coming over and taking the time to have this conversation with me. So next time you're around people, I'd love for you to give this a try. And also right now, I'd love to hear from you what you are feeling in this moment right after watching this video. Just let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you and get to know you and connect with you with pleasure.